Yes, sir. Now it is visible.
Okay, just a second. I'll just share it again. Yeah. So I was telling you we started with the cultivation of the medicinal plant, and our is having more than 300 species of the different medicine plant species. And many of you are aware with the Ayush Mantralaya, they have started, and they are having the different setups, including the National Medicinal Plant Board, and they are operating and working in the different parts of the country. The main aim was to uh, understand the diversity of the medicinal plant and the drugs based on them. So the question is where the medicinal plants are there, always there in our tradition and in our culture. So, for example, I will give you an example of three plants that I have displayed over here. One is you maybe the botanists are well acquainted with this plant. One is Cissus quadrangularis, which we call as a harzo. Many of you may be aware with this species. And in Tamil Nadu, Tamil Prant, people used to make the chutney out of it. Like we used to make a chutney of that spine guards and the kind of chutney they are in the powder form or in the wheat form, and they used to serve with the as a kind of a dish, and they call it as a pirandai. Pirandai is again the creeper that we all know. Second thing is turmeric. We all know the turmeric. It has very different properties and very popularly known. And now everyone is looking for the turmeric, the good quantity with the good curcumin content of the turmeric. And third one is salacia. You may not aware with this plant that called as a saptarangi or the eknaka. And this plant grows in peninsular India and different parts of peninsular India. Important part is people consume the fruits. Similarly, this is the in our culture, in our tradition. So whenever the weddings are happening, we used to have a turmeric function. Similarly, we used to apply the turmeric on our body. In other way that I was telling you the example that how Tamil people or the East Coast people are using the pirandai as a chutney kind of thing. So the plants are there in our tradition. You may aware with the Sushrut Sanhita, Charak Sanhita, where many of the plant species has been elaborated, and we have a long tradition use of the plants herb as in Ayurveda. So all things are like a well known to the Indians, non-botanists also. It's not that because I'm studying botany, I'm very aware with the Ayurveda and all. It is not like that. If you ask to your parents, grandparents and all, they'll have some knowledge that we are called as a traditional knowledge. In fact, in our weekly bazaar also, some Vaidus used to come. They used to give different plant species. They are selling the roots, they are selling tubers, they are selling the fruit, seeds, and different plant organs. So all things are like around the plants. The plants started, exploration of the plant species started because of they are having good economic potential. Not only they are producing the good timber, but because of they are curing the diseases. Because before to the homeopathy or the allopathy, the only source to cure the remedies, to cure the diseases were the plants. And this is where the Ayurveda came, and slowly we got to acquainted with the different plant species that we are having around. For example, if you ask your granny, she will tell many things. in a short example, that Tradax procumbens, that it has kind of healing properties. Similarly, the pirendai, that Hardzor is also having the bone healing properties. If you ask me, if I walked for 100 meters, every plant having some medicinal properties, and I can tell you out of like a two or three plants which I was aware with the medicinal potential. So, being botanist, I'm acquainted with the plants, but as a normal human being or the common man, aware with the different plants, with the local names and the uses. And in last 2 years, we are facing a bad wave of pandemic. And you may be aware that one of the plant species called Villania somnifera was very popular. Because I remember when during the lockdown, I used to come to the office very occasionally, and I found people are coming around the garden and they are looking for the ashwagandha. I said, it's not that you can get the ashwagandha and you can consume directly. So there are people who practice the medicinal plants, who practice the Ayurveda, and they are expertise in it. Our expertise is to understand the plant, to identify and name the plants. So everyone is having their own expertise. Now about our parents or the grandparents, whatever the knowledge they are having, traditionally inherited from the generation to the generation. So we are aware with some of the plant species. So as I give an example over here, three plant species I have presented here. One is Harzod, turmeric or the haldi, and तीसरा the Salacia chinensis, the Saptarangi. But now, how tradition or the culture has converted into the drugs. So this is the example. First picture is from the Himalaya. I'm not advertising anything, Himalaya or any product. This is an example that I just wanted to correlate with the previous slide. The first, they are selling the capsules of what? Of Cissus quadrangularis, which very popularly known as Harzod. Itself it says that it has the healing properties, the bone healing properties. So if you have a bone fracture and all, people or the practitioner may recommend this drug, herbal drug, and it will help to heal the bone fracture. But the plant which we were using, I mean to say, population in Tamil Nadu, they are using it for the chutney. We are also growing it in our premises. In fact, you may have seen that Cissus quadrangularis growing everywhere. Some regions, some places they are naturalized also. But we never had a thought that Himalaya will come with the drug and they will make the powder and they will make the capsule of it. And now it becomes a very popular. This is not only Himalaya. There are many companies, pharmaceutical companies, they started producing the capsule and the product based on the Cissus quadrangularis. Similarly, another product I am putting over here, the Ora. So what you find over here in the slide, they have made the tablets of the turmeric. So turmeric powder they have compressed and they have made the tablets. So people may hesitate to put 1 or 2 spoons turmeric in their milk or in the lukewarm water. Instead of that, this technology came forward now. They can swell 1 tablet. So it will dissolve and it will give the same result. You can have the cup of milk or the glass of milk afterwards. And third one, I was telling you about the Salacia, where our center worked. We have documented different species. As we understand, only 2 species have been exploited in the field. So putting the more pressure on the known species is always dangerous, as we are doing the overexploitation without understanding the neighboring species or the related species. So we started work documenting the Salacia. So this is again the Nairogram product. They are making the Salacia capsules, and that has a properties called compound called salacinol, which is highly anti-diabetic potential. So with these are not these are not novel things. These are the things we are aware with since couple of centuries. Our traditional knowledge, the culture, we are using all these medicinal plants. But when it converts into the product, it has really a value. It says it has a value because now you can import, export these things on an international level, and it got an economy. So, when the gardens started establishing in India as well as in Europe, that the main reason behind it is to explore the potential of those plant species that they are taking from India to the Europe. Similarly, all the gardens, in fact, the literature, if you see, Garcia Yorta, who published the first plants of Goa, which says the important plants, particularly having a good medicinal value and their potential. So all the studies happened during the before the independence or during the colonial period was based on the exploration of the medicinal plants and some economic important economic plants to to understand their values and can be used for diseases and can be having the economy. As I used to give an example of all species that we have imported, introduced from Mexico or other parts of the world, and now becomes economy. So Caesar quadrangularis, although I'm not claiming that this is only our plant, but imagine the people who invested their brain, who invested their ideas, concept to make a novel kind of things. What if someone packed the powder into the capsule and sell it? It will be easy. Instead of making the chutney, it will take a process. It will have some process. In fact, in Maharashtra also, very less people are aware with the pirandite chutney. If you Google it or the YouTube it, no, you will get the recipe of it. But who will do that? In fact, we are very lazy to have a teaspoon of. Instead of that, we may prefer, our next generation may prefer to consume one. Instead of having the metformin or the glycomate, people may prefer the Salacia tablets or the capsules. So this is what happening. So can we call it as a novel? No. It was there. It was there for the years with us. But we really don't know. Everyone was not acquainted. Or this is kind of a sophisticated way that we have uh, adjusted or accepted. So this is the organic turmeric curcumin supplement. So if you want to have some good curcumin content for your body and all, you can consume this kind of capsule. But if you see the world market for the herbal products, you may realize India is still growing. For example, if you see the overall world market, it is around 85 billion US dollars, and the growth is around 50 to 20% every year, and it will predicted to reach by 5 trillion by 2050. And as America having more problems with the diabetes, obesity, then hypertension, and many other related complexes with the obesity and all, they are consuming the herbal drugs or the product based on the herbal drugs. So they are having the around 30 billion of business over there, and followed by the European. And if you see the rest compared to the America and Europe, rest of the world is having very low contribution. For example, 60% of the business is very concentrated towards the Europe and America, while remaining 40% is in Africa, Australia, and the Asian continent. So this is very surprising. In fact, we are having a unique diversity with us. We are one of the mega biodiverse country we used to call it. In fact, we are sitting in the place which is UNESCO heritage site and one of the hottest hotspot, Western Ghats, where we. But if you see the consumers, we don't have a big industry over here. one may can understand that we may not having the turmeric capsule, we may not consuming the hardwood capsule or salacia capsule because we may be having some alternative sources. For example, people may say, why should I go and take the Gymnema capsule that the Gudmar we called? Instead of that, I can have the a leaf of Gymnema. So this approach is still there in our traditional practices. So the product-based industries are established well in Europe and America. Of course, we are also consuming kind of things the which is not necessary at all. For example, we are the largest consumer of the tea. So we are drinking more tea. We are one of the largest consumer of the sugar, which is not necessary at all. So in that way, if we are comparing the business of the herbal drugs, that is very well established in the America and the Europe. In case of India, it is very lesser known and flourishing. It started now because of the pandemic. Now the multi-nutritions are coming into the market. You may get the liquid turmeric jar or the product which you can directly consume, or the turmeric milk also you can get it in the market or the supermarket. But now it started flourishing. We have some around 5,000 crores of business that we are exporting only 1,000 crore. If you see the total number of percentage that we are exporting or we are having the market, that is 1.5% of the world market. So what is the reason why this is we are lagging behind, although we are good producers, although we are having a much diversity with us? So these things you need to answer. And to promote the herbal industry or the plant-based product, Ayush started working. So Government of India, Ministry of Ayush, it's a different division. They are taking care of all this stuff. I hope I'm very audible and people are getting my voice very clear.
Yes, sir.
And the slides are visible because it's like a one-sided dialogue. So I just wanted to understand whether
Yes,
my
sir.
voice is reaching. Okay,
Yes,
slide
sir.
are also visible. Okay, so I was telling you, I started. Yeah, thank you. I started, but they have not reached to the people in every corner of the society. Unfortunately, very few institutions, very few organizations, those who are dealing with the plants, those only acquainted with this Ayush. The reason behind it, it has not been that popularized. Fortunately or unfortunately, in last 2 years, people are get acquainted with the Ayush practices. They are using the Ayush drugs, but that too on the limitations. I'm not criticizing anyone, but you may aware with the Divya Patanjali product they have launched that they have claimed that it will be having some impact on the COVID-19 virus. I don't want to go into it, but similar kind of things that Ayush is also promoting, and it doesn't went to the corner of the country. That is very unfortunate thing. But Ayush now started taking many initiatives, and more than that, we are lacking the international cooperation and the funds. I will come to that point. So ministry is focusing mainly on the conservation, uh, investing some amount in the herbal gardens, cultivation practices, quality planting material, research development, marketing, trade, and of course, to understand the diversity, to check the overexploitation rate, they have to use the modern techniques to control all this stuff through the remote sensing and the GIS. So it's not the Ayush is only working. There are different branches they are having, different divisions. They are comprehensively doing the work for the Ministry of Ayush. In fact, Pune also we are having one center where Dr. Mokad is working for the one of the National Medicinal Plant Board sponsored project where they are focusing on the cultivation and commercial practices of mass cultivation of medicinal plants. And if you see all the ministry divisions, for example, the Ministry of Agriculture and Farming Welfare, Ministry of Environment and Forest Climate Change, Health and Family Welfare, then the another this Pharmacopoeia Commission for the Indian Medicine and Homeopathy, Ministry of Ayurveda, then Skill India is also part of now all this stuff, because these are all are interlinked. If you ask me, if you wanted to generate the herbal garden, to whom you will approach? If you wanted to develop the garden, so first thing, either you need to approach the National Medicine NMPB, National Medicine Plant Board, or you need to approach to the Ministry of Environment and Forest Climate Change. So these are the organization where you need to approach. If you are the farmer, then you need to approach Ministry of Ayush as well as the Ministry of Agriculture, Farming and Welfare. So these are all are interlinked. If you wanted to develop a drug, so you need to have some permission from the Ayush, from the WHO, and from All India Institute of Ayurveda. So this is all interlinked. It is not that independently you can do the work. And therefore, Ayush and its promotion. If you go to the Ayush, how many of you are aware with the Ayush? I really don't know. But if you're attending these herbal drugs and the opportunities for the startup, I feel that you may have some background knowledge of these organizations, how they are working, what is their role, and how we can use the sources that they are created by the Ayush and the ministry and the National Medicinal Plant Board. Similarly, if you ask me, you go to the Zandu pharmaceuticals or you go to the uh, any like a Dabur and any other the Baidyanath, any popular or the Patanjali. Of course, there may be the people who are well attended Ayush, their schemes, their registrations, their processes, and again the patent also. If someone wanted to register the patent, someone wanted to uh, register the variety that having the geographical indication. For example, recently we had a talk with the people from Vidarbha. They are cultivating one turmeric. In fact, similarly, the another variety, the Pitambari. So these are the geographical tagging varieties where you can get the good amount of curcumin. So for that also we need to understand the law of geographical indication. And similarly, we need to understand the efficacy and the potency, whether the qualitative things that we need to define, whether they are having the power to produce the effect. The plant is having the power to produce the effect. Or we need to understand the quantitative potency, where whether the drug or the ingredient that we are using, whether it can produce the therapeutic effect or not. So merely putting the money into the business will not help. I'll come to that. But first, whoever is in our business, medicinal plant cultivation practices, to start some drug invention or the compounds and all, to start some pharmaceutical industry or something, or want to be a trader. First thing is that we need to understand the government policies, the ministry, and the regulations. So with this, I feel that you just acquainted with now the what is the Ayush, and now whenever we are talking about the medicinal plant, as I have given the example that people are asking for Vidania somnifera, you cannot uproot and consume the plant. It's not the practice. We need to understand the quality and the control of the whatever the drugs that we are talking about or the whatever the medicinal plants that we are talking about. There should be a precise schedule. When should be harvested. There should be a precise techniques for the cultivation. People used to approach to us and they are suggesting us to cultivate the shatavari, asparagus. But we need to understand whether the soil is having the potential asparagus or the turmeric. In fact, completely black cotton soil also will not help often to the cultivation of the turmeric, or the if the soil is having the waterlogging things, then it will impact on the rhizome breathing capacity of the turmeric. Similarly with the ginger also. In fact, for the musuri, all these plants are very uh, sensitive to the environment, to the soil, to the rainfall, to the climate. Although they may not having many diseases, taste and all, but whenever we are having some kind of mass cultivation or the commercial farming, if some industries are approaching us and they are asking, first we need to understand the soil profile, cultivation techniques, and what will be the schedule of harvesting. The next thing is, if someone is coming and asking you, that is fine. They may be having some storage, but if you are doing by your own with the studying the market and all, we are finding the difficulty to store our own common crop, cash crop, onion, potato, tomatoes, and all. That will be difficult. We don't have a cold storage everywhere. So imagine if you are producing a bulk amount of coleus, turmeric, musuri, impact the sarpagandha, ashwagandha, where you are going to store that. If nobody wants to take your the material or the harvest, so that will be again the question. And if at all you are selling that product for the drug industry, to the drug industry or some pharmaceutical industry, you may find difficulty because they are looking for the typical active compounds, their stability, their percentage. That should be a consistent. It's not that it should be variable because it will damage their product, the final product. So they may request, they may give you the rhizome or the kernels or the seeds, and they may monitor. But if at all you are doing by your own, you need to have some expertise before to grow any plant, not only the medicinal plants, but any other plant. In fact, for the regular crops also, except the sugar, you may need to have some more knowledge before to cultivate. And of course, whenever you are selling the product to any company or any pharmaceutical industry, they will check for the adulterant and the quality of the product. So it says that uh, there are many things written on the label of the bottle or box label, but we are not assured that whatever the written on the box, the compounds may exist in the inside the bottle or the box. So when we don't have a proper quality control. So in your part also, people may how much of the turmeric yield is going for the medicinal products. We really don't know the estimation. Similarly, Saped Musli, okay, Saped Musli is mainly cultivated, or the asparagus, they are very well known Ayush medicinal plants. They are the list of medicinal plants of the Ayush. But we really don't know how much of the quantity is used for typical for the consuming directly, and typically used for the to make the medicinal product. For example, the Ora, who are making the turmeric tablets. So how many farmers selling their turmeric to the Ora? So question, we really don't have the figures. So they may be having some cultivation practices where people are doing the farming for the Ora. People are farming for the Himalaya. Those who are cultivating the Cissus quadrangularis. Cultivation, there are many crops, medicinal crops, people are cultivating. But the use, whether they are going as a medicinal product or whether they are going as a condiment. I will give you an example. We worked on this plant. One of my colleagues, Dr. Bhagyashree Kumbalkar, she started working on the plant. You know what is this? This is Dhutra. Dhatura, we scientifically call, scientific name is Dhatura. So there are 6 species known in India. And whenever we are trying to standardize anything, or we are certifying our raw material or certificate, or we are extracting the compounds, we need to identify the quality assurance and the genuine authentication of product. Why I am giving example of the Tura here is you can see that the two plants over here. I have presented. I don't know whether you can able to make out the two distinct species or you can call the rediscover this plant from India after a gap of around 200 years. So till date, people are using this plant as a dhatura only. So if we have studied the market in peninsular India, where we have made this survey in the drug shops, those who are selling the medicinal crude drugs or the plant organs, we asked for Datura. You are aware that this plant is having tropane alkaloids that is well used in many of the medicines. So seeds have been used, and this is very well known plant. So whenever we used to ask for dhatura, dhotra, they used to give the seeds. And if I'm not a botanist, I will take those seeds as a dhatura only. But being botanist, and as we are doing the project on dhatura, we went to Gujarat. We have studied some parts of Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Kerala. We found Karnataka, we found they are selling the seeds of Dhatura inoxia as well as Dhatura discolor under the name of Dhatura. But let me tell you one thing, every plant has their own properties, own chemical constituents. So it's not that it
Hello,
will
sir.
affect on your body in the same way. Yes.
Sir, your presentation is not visible.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Your presentation is not visible for the participant. Please kindly reshare.
Okay. Okay. Now it's visible. Is it visible now to all?
No,
Yes, sir.
no, sir.
I got surprised.
Hello, sir. Now it is visible.
Okay, so practicing the botany is also important. We need to understand what we are consuming or what the traders are giving. Traders know what they used to do. Whatever the dominant part is there in their part of country, they will harvest and they will sell it under the one name. But every plant has their own unique properties. So also this is very known for the tropane alkaloids. Every species are having a little much or the large or the low quantity of the occurrence of the tropane alkaloid in it. So that is what we need to understand. So therefore, the monographs and the other information based on the marker based information to have some medicinal preparation is very important. So compendiums, monographs, revision, which talking about the importance and the characteristic of the medicinal plant, that is very useful. So unless we are not studying the Dhatura, people may not understand the what species that exactly they are consuming or they are using to make their product. Probably the larger companies, they may be understanding the difference between the Dhatura discolor and the Dhatura inoxia and Dhatura metal. But as a layman, if you are going to any pharmacist or the drug dealer or the trader, they will give anything under the name of Dhatura. And we need to rely on their words. So many occasions it happens that we are not getting the genuine drug. So therefore the books, monograph, references, standards, and including the revisions are important. And similarly, we need to understand the good agriculture practices, good agricultural collection practices, and the good storage practices. So without them, understanding the good agricultural practices, cultivation practices, we cannot grow the plants. And of course, manufacturers also will not accept the plant-based product until unless you are not using the good agricultural practices and the guidelines that given the World Health Organization or the Ayush Mantralaya that you are following. Similarly, we need to think about the implementation of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act. So that is the act which tells you about the regulation and how you can grow the medicinal plants. In fact, you can make the product of it. So whenever you are coming up for the product or whenever you become a trader for the medicinal plant or the supplier, you need to understand what Ayush Mantralaya says, what the company exactly expecting from your side, and then you need to proceed for the growing all this stuff. On the left hand side, I have kept the photograph of the aloe vera, and right hand side, I have kept the photograph of the geranium. So Gujarat, they are having a good cultivation practices of the geranium, and they are making the money of it, money out of it. But in a black cotton soil, you cannot grow. Similarly with the aloe vera also. So we need to understand condition before to grow anything. And it's very unfortunate that we have a limited knowledge. For example, I have made many of the small to medium enterprises. They are dealing with the trades, they are dealing with the supply, and they are dealing with the manufacturing of some of the raw material or the compounds. They are extracting. Some are having some extraction in it, but they don't have a connections. Now they have using the farmer cooperative societies to get the products, the standard products, get the good material quality of the product for their drug. But it started just now. Before 5, 6 years before, there was no coordination between the farmers, suppliers, traders, and the manufacturing industry. So all these things need to be expressed and need to be communicated to the part of the society, those who are interested in kind of they are thinking in out of the box and they are thinking to grow the medicinal plants. Otherwise, those who are interested in the cultivating banana and the cultivating sugarcane, for them it may not be this suggestion applicable. So if I come towards the one of the interesting facts and the stories about the taxes, I'll quickly wrap. Two people are here in the photograph. One is Mansukhwani and Monroe Wall. What they have discovered? They have discovered one of the unique compounds. One is taxus and other one is camptothecin. Camptothecin, the one of the sources that we are having the Epigenia, curculigo and all. Those are the hypoxis. Those are the species which are having highly source of the camptothecin. But what about the taxus? They started working. And interesting part is Mansukh Wani Saab died last year in the month of April. He is from Nandurbar district of Maharashtra, from our own Maharashtra, and he did his masters and from here Mumbai University, and he moved to California, US, and there he studied. There he studied the phytochemistry, and he extracted the compound, and which used in the chemotherapy to check the cancerous growth. Plant gymnosperm they have used called Taxus brevifolia, and that working on the antitumor as a anti-cancerous properties. And similarly, it also worked on the Taxol for the ovarian cancer. Finally, they got the approval from the FDA, and that drug has been approved for the breast cancer. So now that was the scene. But you treat one patient, how much of Taxol required? That require 60 lbs bark. So it means that 3 big trees, that 100 years old trees that you need to chop to cure one cancer patient. So there was a question about the sustainability and the sustainable use of it. Now with the period of time, the things have been increased. Now synthetically we are making, and later words the Taxol is like a sustainably synthesized from the other species of the taxus called Taxus baccata. But that is another story. But when the research started, therefore people are not much into it. People are not working on the endemic plant. The reason behind it, whenever you want to start something as a startup or have a research on some plants, no, you require a bulk amount of plant material. And now because of the collection restrictions from the forest, you have to take the permissions from the national state biodiversity authorities, forest permission required. So their research is also not that easy. That was easy in the uh, 4 decades. So this is the Texas story, which is very unique. But now we need to think about the sustainable way and how we can help to explore the plant properties. For example, I'm a botanist. I can understand the plant morphology. I can give the name to the plants. So I have an opportunity to understand the plant diversity, to understand the characteristic of the plant. And there are other branches. Pharmacognosy is another branch. Anatomy is another branch. There are branches who are working in the evolution, phylogenomics, and there are branches who are working in the metabolic engineering, phytochemistry, biochemistry, and molecular phenotyping. And finally, the bioinformatics will come. So this is what having a comprehensive approach of all the branches of science, particularly with the natural sciences. And this is the workflow to explore and exploiting the medicinal potential of the plant. So there are tremendous scope. I hope the slides are moving correctly. Being a taxonomist, you can start identifying and selecting of the plants, right genus, species, variety. You can eliminate allergens. For example, as I was saying, how they look, they produce the seeds, what color of what seed color is, how the fruit looks like. So, being a taxonomist or the morphologist, I can understand the plant species. But now the role goes to the chemist. They can understand the phytochemistry of the plant, important constituent of the plant constituent or the compound into it. And similarly, that need to be confirmed with the molecular evidences, cytological evidences, and anatomical evidences. And to, as I said, that some species are geographically having a geographical indications. Yeah, some species are very unique to the some part of forest or the some part of plant. For that, we need an ecologist to geotagging those species. Until we are not geotagging or we are not having the understanding the distribution of that species, it is very difficult to the conservation biologist or the policymakers to check the control or to control the over exploitation of the plant species from the wild.
येस.
So this is
सर आपण यासाठी क्वाड्रंट मेथड सुद्धा वापरू शकतो. क्वाड्रंट मेथड असते, क्वाड्रंट मेथड.
yes, we can use the quadrant method.
एक क्वाड्रंट टाकायचं.
Right. Yes, we can use the ecology and other practices also. Similarly, if someone wanted to enhance the product or enhance the compound, they can use the biotechnology tools. They can use the technology tools from the biotechnology. They can grow the plants under the test tube with the help of the callus culture. They can grow the plants under as a test plant tissue culture, and they can enhance the compound. Quantity of that compound occurs in the plant. One of my colleagues worked on the lobelia. He studied the elite population, how the lobelin percentage has been decreased or increased according to the elevation, according to the climatic conditions, and according to the soil profile. So that is very interesting. In fact, he studied the genome also. So there are many studies, people are working in the different field. As he was having some kind of ecology and the phytochemistry background and the biotechnology background, he wanted to enhance the lobelin. So this is what, there are many things that you can do, but wait, if at all you wanted to start something in the herbal industry or the herbal drug, you need to understand many things. You need to understand the efficacy and the potential. Similarly, you need to understand the regulation set up by the Ayush, set up by the National Medicinal Plant Board. If at all it is kite CITES species or restrictions are there to import export the species, then you need to have the forest permission. In fact, you need to have some permissions from the uh, FDA, because if at all you are not making the any medicinal products or the Ayurvedic product, if you are using that product as a nutritional product kind of things, you need to have some permissions from the FDA. Before to start, I would suggest you need to go for the market research. Then you need to select the herb. What are the plants that you can take it as a commercial product? Similarly, I was telling you, you need to understand the law of geographical indication of the plant species. Similarly, you have to find the location. For example, you wanted to become this medicinal plant farming and this herbal farming. Then, of course, you need to understand what kind of land you are having, what kind of assets you are having, and who will be going to take your material or the yield or the harvest. So all these studies are important before to put the step in the market. And finally, if you don't have any collaboration or the contract, of course, you need to depend on the different pharmaceutical industries or the different nutraceutical industries or herbal based industries who will going to take. For example, I have given example, a basic example of the turmeric and the Cissus quadrangularis. So who signed the TRPS? That is what trade-related aspect of intellectual properties. Then again, the intellectual property rights, which may involve for the some species or the some formulation, if at all you are engaged in the drug or compound manufacturing and the formulations. But if at all you wanted to involve as an entrepreneur or as the trader or uh, as a harvester, then you may not need to go for the permissions and the licensing and the registration. But if at all you are thinking about the formulation, and if at all you if it is a new invention, then definitely all these things are required. So being a student of natural science, you have a biology that you understand plant. You know that how to extract compounds, methods, what are the things that extraction units that you need to use, what kind of ways that solvent that you need to use, and what are the equipment that requires at a small laboratory. In fact, you can provide services to the different pharmaceutical companies. For example, they may not have a taxonomist, so you can be a taxonomist for them. You can identify, authenticate the drugs. So normally they are going to the organizations. There are very few organizations helping them to the identification. You can use the being a phytochemist, you can do all this stuff. But first, you need to understand the business and what are your expertise into it. Without having expertise, I feel that will be a gamble again. And the word is open for you. For I have said in my first slide that only 1.5% of the total business that India is having. So there is a lot of scope that you can start up with cultivation, you can start up with the trade, you can also start up with the compound drug discoveries, you can also start up with kind of a sales counter of the cultivation, whatever the growers are there. You can, in fact, you can make a cooperatives also, where you can collect 3-4 farmers and ask them to cultivate. This is what the salacia or the turmeric or the ginger, whatever that is with the quality, with succeed with the quality and the quality control and having the efficacy and the potency. So that material you can ask farmers to cultivate, and that you can harvest and collect and give it to pharmaceutical industries. So that's a kind of trade that you can do. So lot many things are there to do with the herbal drugs and its startup. Only thing is, we need to understand the market, we need to understand the business, we need to have some knowledge about the Ayush, their subsidized programs, their financials. Of course, the financial is one of the crucial part that I didn't talk about, but we need to think about the financial support, because without support or without financial aid, that we cannot do any business, any startup also. Similarly, we should have the land, we should have some good knowledge of the nursery and the cultivation practices. So that is all about the herbal drugs. As I said, hell lot of scope is there, but only thing is we should have some basic knowledge about what exactly we wanted to pursue or we wanted to go grow as a business. Because say cultivating a few plants, that too for our use, is one part, but once we are thinking to grow them on the large scale as a commercial crop, definitely we have to be very attentive, and we have to be very careful, and of course the follow-up should be taken. So there are many industries are there, like a Jandu, Baidyanath, I said. Then now many nutraceutical commercial businesses are also started. You may have some product in your day to using the day-to-day life also. So that everything is there. Only thing is what job suits for you, or what kind of setup that you wanted to start, that you need to understand. So I hope that I have. This is what the big topic that 145 minutes talk it cannot be covered. But if you have some questions or the queries, you can write to me. You can take my email. I will put it in the chat box, and I will be very happy to help you in any part. In fact, one of my friends, Dr. Nilesh Malpuri, is also there. He worked earlier for the one of the Ayurvedic this industries, the pharmaceutical industries. So Piramal Healthcare, he was working. So many people are there, many expertise they are there in around you, and you can seek the help from them before to start anything. So thank you very much for patient listening. I don't know how it delivered to you. I hope that you understand something out of it. Again, that I will hand over the things to the organizers. They can take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. If participant have any queries or the question, that can be asked in chat box, or unmute themselves and ask their question if there are any questions. I hope participant understand today's session about the herbal drugs technology and opportunity to a startup. First, I want to say thanks to today's speaker, Dr. Mayur Nandekar. He gave us
Sir, I have one question. Can I ask question?
Yes, please, please.
Actually, myself, Dr. Devobroto Das, from Government General Degree College, Lalgod, Jhargram, West Bengal. Uh, my question is that uh, actually medicinal plants are much more here in South West Bengal forest and adjoining areas, and forest department is going to start a plantation program in some degraded lands. But my question is that no actually good market is here. So many people are going to cultivate the medicinal plants, but not able to sell properly after proper preparation. The materials to sell in the market or directly to the traders. So if you say something on this actually trading, medicinal plant cultivation and that after trading.
Yeah, that is very important and crucial. In fact, we have also tried over here. We have tried to use the degraded land for the cultivation of some medicinal plant, and we thought after 5 6 years the local people will get benefit of it, and they can develop their livelihood while harvesting the plant products, and they can trade those products to the pharmaceutical industries, which where they will get the good value. Unfortunately, many industries are looking for the quality control and the quality of the product. And as they are very specific with the plant material, it's not that they are randomly collecting the plants. So first, the caution is, unless until we are having the proper market survey and we are having the collaboration with some pharmaceutical industries, I would not suggest to go for the mass cultivation. For example, I know the Salacia chinensis, the Saptarangi, is having good antidiabetic potential. And if I go for the mass cultivation, definitely there is a large demand of the roots of the Salacia. But I will avoid until unless I am exploring the market. I will not touch one plant for the cultivation. Because after all, 6 7 years we are investing, and at the end of the year, when the harvest is ready, if no one is willing to take that crop or the harvest or the yield, it will be very difficult and it will be a loss that we have invested our energy, money, and the land resources. So therefore my suggestion is, if someone is having the contract, long term contract, if they are providing their genuine seeds, genuine plant material, and asking you to grow the plant in your farm, asking the grow the plants in the forest land or the degraded forest and all, then only you can proceed. Otherwise there will be a problem. Therefore I said no. Good agricultural practices, good harvest practices, and good storage practices should be followed, and that be only will come with the market understanding and the collaboration on the wider scale. So randomly I will not suggest anyone to plant any medicinal plants, or unless until you are having good contract and the collaboration with a big pharmaceutical company where they are demanding a lot much of the medicinal plant or the drugs. So this is what my suggestion, very honestly. Cause no, if you are cultivating, if you don't have a storage, what you are going to do with it? Cause every plant has their shelf life. In fact, the plant product, you cannot keep the turmeric for a long years. You need to sell that turmeric or the rhizomes within a 1 or 2 years. Otherwise, it will start omitting their oil, and there will not be any of use. So first we need to understand whether we are having a good cultivation practices, whether there is a demand. If there is a demand, if there's someone to get our harvest, if yes, then only you can put the step into the farming and the cultivation and the forestation programs also. I hope Das Saab, you got the things clear.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
May I ask
Yeah,
you a
madam.
question?
Yeah, madam.
Hello, sir. Myself, Miss Rushali Zondale. I am from PUP College, Pravarnagar. I am a research scholar. I am basically doing my PhD in taxonomy, weeds. But sir, recently I have actually attended a webinar or a seminar of SR Yadav, sir. So he told about the herbal drugs extraction from the endangered angiospermic species which are present in the Western Ghat. Means before they were not endangered, now they are endangered because these companies like Himalaya and all companies, these companies are means they are not doing the sustainable extraction. So what you suggest for this? That first you should identify the species, then what are the cultivation practices? Can you tell me anything about this? That like Garcinia, like that drug, mostly S.R. Yadav told, or one which we say it as Wowding in Marathi. So these drugs, they are adulterated actually in the market, and they are not properly, they are not sold. Originally means it is not original one. Contaminated and adulterated drugs are sold in the market. Hello, sir.
Okay. So there are studies. The one part we need to understand. As I said, for the taxol research, they must have chopped down thousands of taxus trees. So without chopping down the big trees, any research cannot be happened. As you rightly said that Embelia, that we call as a Wowding, no, that now people are adulterating and manipulating the other species of Embelia together. Similarly for the Datura and all, but we need to reduce the pressure on the established the plant species. For example, I will give you an example. Salacia, I was telling you in my slides. So Salacia used to call as a Saptarangi commonly. But in an Indian market or in an international market, only two species of Salacia are well known. The one is Salacia chinensis and other one is Salacia oblonga. Both are like one species is endemic to the India and Sri Lanka. And both the species have been overexploited from the wild. Now, what are the solutions? See, first thing that we did the research on the Salacia, we understood that it has a salacinol. Now we need to explore more species of the Salacia, those who are having the quantity of salacinol. So first thing, being a taxonomist, we cannot avoid the initial harvesting or the initial exploitation because we need a bulk amount of material to understand the compound quantity. So what we did is to reduce the pressure on two species, we have explored 8 more species in Salacia. Now in peninsular India, people are getting aware that apart from these two species, there are 8 more species available to carry out the research. Some of the species are very restricted and endangered. So we need to think before the exploitation that how big quantity of material we will require and whether the normal harvest from the wild will be sufficient for that. Now, if you see, many of the Salacia plantations started in the Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. People started cultivating Salacia chinensis because salacinol they are extracting from the roots. So there will be a pressure always on the endemic species and the endangered species, but we need to think about the sustainable use of the harvest. Sustainable in the sense we need to establish the cultivation practices for such endangered species. For example, I will tell you one example again. Imbelia ribes. We don't have the cultivation practices on a large. Whatever the wilding that we are extracting from the wild. So now the Institute of Horticulture, that is again the part of agricultural institution at Bangalore, they have started cultivating practices for the wilding Imbelia ribes. Similarly, they are working on the Salacia. So this is what slowly to avoid the over exploitation. First, we need to understand the species diversity in the group. If the species diversity is well known, we need to explore them for the quantitative analysis of the chemical compound that we are targeting for. And third part is we need to understand the mass cultivation practices of such endemic, threatened, endangered species. Without mass cultivation and commercial cultivation of those species, it will not going to be happened. And those species are which are like a habitat specific. We can't do anything, madam. We can't do anything for them.
That is what. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Anyway, if you have some questions or the queries, I have given my mail ID in the chat box, in the dialog box. You can copy that mail, and if you ask me the queries straightly, writing to me. I hope the things are very clear to the audience, and I hope that I got successful to while presenting. Cause as I said that entire topic, it is not possible to cover in a 45-minute session. But really, I would appreciate if someone is having the doubt or the queries. Otherwise, organizer may can take a call because it's almost 12:15. Shinde sir? No, your voice is not audible. It's like a dragging.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are
Now you are
audible.
audible.
Okay, I think there is no questionnaire from the participant side. If any, they can ask through emails or in the chat box. I once again say thanks to the our today's webinar resource person Dr. Mayur Nandekar. He have give a from his busy schedules to time us to a very wonderful session of a herbal drug technology as a future opportunity or the startup opportunity. Okay, we should leave this meeting.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
thank
you
you, sir.
all. Thank you very much.